call the meeting. South Kenai Peninsula Hospital Service Area Board. It is Thursday, October 12th, 2023, and it's 6:32 p.m. Stephanie, would you please do the roll call? Oh,
Yes, I am happy to. Catherine Alt.
here.
Helen Armstrong.
Here.
Willie Dunn, excused absent. Roberta Highland.
Here.
Judy Lund.
Here.
Tim Whip.
Here.
Tim Doherty.
Here.
Amber Cabana.
Here.
And Ralph Broche is also excused absent, so there are 7 board members.
Thank you, Devaney. All right. Introduction of our guests. We have 2 people here. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves, please?
Sure. I'm Hannah Gustafson, and I am here tonight to share with you about the MAP Community Health Coalition, of which I coordinate.
And I'm Jacqueline Rainwater. I'm the facilitator for the All Things Recovery Coalition.
And we also have in the audience Nancy Roberts, who will be joining us after she's also been sworn in officially at the November 9th meeting. And we have Tamara, and she will also be joining us. And Francie, if you'd like to sit up at the table, that's okay. Yeah, no problem. All right. Next on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Can I have a motion, please, Roberta?
I move to approve the agenda.
I second.
Seconded. Any changes? Okay. Any objections to the motion? Hearing none. The motion.
Helen, did you
Yes.
not want to add to the agenda the new item, the motions concerning the legislative priorities?
Oh, right. That did need to be added. Okay, sorry, up a little bit, everybody.
Yeah, I sent out an amended agenda, and that's under new business D now.
All right.
Isn't it adequate that it's written down there and then we'll make the motions accordingly or not?
What's your question? Sorry?
That it's already on our new agenda that Devaney had sent out.
Okay,
So we have that in front of us, so we really don't need to add anything to the agenda since it got sent out before the meeting.
you are right.
You want me to make a couple copies if we don't have them in the room?
Oh, yeah, that would be great.
I'll find it.
All right. Angela is going to make a couple of copies of that too, so, all right. Back to the agenda. Are there any objections to the motion to approve? Hearing none, the motion carries to approve the agenda as presented. Do we have any comments from the audience today? All right. No comments. Approval of the minutes from our regular meeting of September 14th, 2023.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
None, I second.
Seconded by Judy. Any additions, corrections? Anything that needs to be added to the minutes? All right, if we have no objections to the motion. Hearing none, motion carries. All right, presentations. We have today with us Hannah Gustafson, she's the director of MAP, and she is providing the 2023 annual report, which is on page 17 of your packet.
Thank you. Devaney, are you able to pull up the presentation? Yay! Thank you. That's not our first slide. There we go. Brilliant. Thank you. All right. Well, It's nice to be here again. Last month, I joined you all via Zoom and shared on our community health needs assessment. And so now I'm back to give an annual update. So as I mentioned, I'm the coordinator of MAP, which is our overarching community health coalition that stands for Mobilizing for Action Through Planning and Partnerships. And thanks to this body and the vision and leadership of our community has been an active and supported coalition within the Southern Kenai Peninsula since 2008. So thank you for the vision and ability to support this really important community work. And Homer has been active and involved as a coalition long before many other communities, and before it was something that many funders and folks actually asked of communities. So kudos to you all for the vision. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the vision of MAP as a community coalition was defined by the community before my time. And it is that we have a vision of a proactive, resilient, and innovative community. And as the overarching health coalition, a big part of what we do is community health needs assessments and community health improvement planning, which is a little bit about what I'll talk about today. But some of the implementation efforts within the community that have come from the health needs assessments are the Resilience Coalition and the All Things Recovery Coalition. So the Resilience Coalition is active in the community and supported by a fiscal sponsor grant with Sprout Family Services, and All Things Recovery has been supported by this body. So Jacqueline will be sharing with you an annual update on that as well. Next slide, please. So as the contracted coordinator, I have a company, Elemental Consulting. So I work for the coalition, and this is our steering committee. It's actually represented of 12 different organizations within the community with an attempt to have a broad cross-section of health and wellness. Next slide, please. So many years ago, also before my time, our community adopted the 8 dimensions of wellness because we wanted to look at health in a multidimensional way, more than just physical health, more than just mental health, but taking into consideration all of the components that make a healthy individual, family, community. That's cultural, economic, emotional, environmental, intellectual, physical, spiritual, and social. And so part of what I have done over the last year with support from you all is continue to bring that MAP steering committee together. So they meet twice a month, and I take care of the agendas and the notes and the content for those meetings. And it really has allowed us as a community to stay connected and be ready when we need to respond to things like a pandemic and when funding opportunities come across the radar, to be able to quickly mobilize as a community, both in threats and opportunities. In addition to that, in order to keep the community updated, we have a monthly e-newsletter that goes out, also do monthly point of view pieces in the Homer News. And the biggest part of this last year was our community health needs assessment. So your support for MAP allowed me to act as project manager on that. And it was a year-long process. Next slide, please. So if you were here last month, a couple of these slides might be familiar, but it really was the lion's share of the work that we did over the last year. So the MAP steering committee, those 12 entities, a subsection of them actually participated as our community health needs assessment work group. And I convened that group twice a month. We had also some support from the city of Homer and from Healthy and Equitable Communities grant that allowed us to hire a contractor who's actually done community health needs assessments for decades all across the nation and had experience in Alaska recently with Matsu Health Foundation. Strategy Solutions, Inc. was that entity. So we were able to bring them on to actually do the writing of the report. And then of course, the voice of community residents. The health needs assessment is our story of our community. And we had over 1,020 individuals participate in our perceptions of health survey. And how were we able to do this? With support from our member agencies, support from you all, and then support, like I mentioned, from that grant through the city of Homer. Next slide, please. So the health needs assessment is our major deliverable of this last year. Hopefully, I don't know if you guys got hard copies of it, but it is on the hospital's website, it is on the MAP website, and it is those 4 distinct reports. So you have your community themes and strengths, which is really the qualitative stories of the community. That's that 1,020 surveys that we did. You have our local public health system assessment. Those are 10 essential services of public health that we measured through a very structured framework of facilitated discussion with particular community members as a part of that. We have the quantitative data, which is all your graphs and charts, the community health status assessment, and then finally forces of change, which is looking at the world around us and things that are occurring that do impact our health, such as climate change or food insecurity and how that impacts our community. Next slide, please. So after the assessment process, we went through and we identified 6 top priorities. So this was an exercise completed by the MAP Steering Committee and the Community Health Needs Assessment Committee. Total of 16 people went through a prioritization process. And out of 28 potential priorities, these are the 6 that rose to the top. And for the purposes of bringing it to the community, we've actually merged number 1 and number 5 because it's mental health and then specifically youth mental health. Next slide, please. So this is where we are now. Tomorrow, actually, I was just talking to Helen about this, is our community meeting. It's our first community meeting in some time. I'm super excited about it. And we've worked to make it as accessible as possible. So having learned all about Zoom and hybrid convening over the last few years, it will be a hybrid meeting. So people can either attend in person or they can attend via Zoom. We're also offering childcare so that people with children can participate. And we're also offering an open space from 5 to 7 p.m., just realizing that not everybody can come to a meeting from 9 to noon. So we'll be there on site from 5 to 7 with the results from the day that folks can review, an opportunity for them to share their thoughts on those 6 priorities, and then an opportunity for them to participate in the prioritization exercise. So the goal after tomorrow is to take those 6 potential priorities and narrow it down to something a little more manageable, hopefully 1 or 2. Which will then reconvene in later October to identify what we as a community can do around that issue. So I think, next slide, please. That's MAP. Now we're going to transition to all things recovery, because that particular entity has also been supported by this body. And so just to give a little walk down memory lane, the SKP Opioid Task Force was organized in response to our 2016 health needs assessment, and over the years has evolved in how and what it does. And so it went from the opioid task force in response to the opioid epidemic to all things addiction, looking at addiction comprehensively, to more recently in 2022 to all things recovery, because we realized we wanted to really focus on the world we want to see and what we want to create and on the solution. So that's this walk down memory lane, and now I'm going to pass it to Jacqueline because she is our all things recovery facilitator, and she's going to share a little bit about what's happened over the last year there.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm a person in long-term recovery, and having this job has been such a gift to me personally. So I wanted to thank you and love to touch on, I still need.
Devaney, do we have the slide still?
I can go back to that. Is the continue that continues with the ATR?
Yeah, it's the same slide deck.
Okay, great. I will go back to sharing.
Thank you.
Hang on just a sec. My eyesight is getting so crappy. There it is. Oh, it's on the step. It's all ready to go. Okay,
Perfect.
here we are.
Next one, please.
So yes, first thing I'd like to highlight is the Homer Food Pantry outreach. I go there every Monday from 11:30 to 3. And I have a booth in the back table, and I have pamphlets to all the behavioral health and treatment agencies in our community on the Southern Kenai Peninsula. I have Narcan kits. I have the ability to help people sign up for treatment applications, help them make appointments if they are needing to meet certain requirements to go to treatment. And I'm just a consistent face back there as somebody in recovery who can point them in the right direction. So if they say I had trouble at this agency, I could say, have you tried Homer Medical? Have you tried SVT? Have you tried NPC? And I'm just a person who's able to point them in the right direction. And this is a article that the Homer Food Pantry board put in their newsletter, and they've actually been so supportive of what we're doing there that they have added all things recovery and peer support to their list of services. So it's been a really good experience there at the Homer Food Pantry. Next slide, please. One of our work groups is the lived experience work group, where we're trying to normalize sobriety, show that you can have fun in recovery and help build connections. A lot of people have said that the opposite of addiction is connection, and that is really what we try to do with this work group. It started off with the Zoom meetings of having just a recovery discussion every month, and people started sharing that what they'd really like to see is activities. So there's that top picture is a bonfire and potluck that we had at Bishop's Beach. That bottom photo is a bunch of residents from Set Free Compass, the men's residential treatment center here. And every month we've been able to do something like go kayaking across the bay in Halibut Cove. We've been able to hike Gruick Lake. And these relationships are being built. There's people with, a week of sobriety, and there's people with 20 years of sobriety. And you just hear these, you get to know each other. And especially these guys in Set Free have said, thank you over and over again, because they're getting these experiences that they would never be able to have if they hadn't been in recovery. And so, they're building relationships with people on the outside, for lack of a better word, where when they get out, they're able to have these phone numbers and be able to have a successful support system when they get out. So that is one part of the lived experience work group. The other thing that we're doing is the recovery speaker series, and every quarter we get somebody who's in recovery share their experience and their strength of their journey. And oftentimes it's at the college, and we have a really good turnout, usually about 20 to 30 people of just sharing their story, then having open dialogue afterwards to ask questions and for people in recovery to get support. So yeah, we're going to do a event at the Homer Axe House this month. I'm trying to think of like a cool name, like throw yourself into recovery. I don't know. So anyways, it's gonna be a good time. So yeah, that's the lived experience work group. Next slide, please. So navigating the systems is the next work group, and this, it kind of speaks for itself. We are trying to identify issues and break down barriers for people who are navigating the behavioral health system and treatment system, and figure out what are the issues, what are you bumping into, and how can the coalition help fill those gaps and maybe make the process for navigating the system easier. So that's a little snapshot of some business-sized cards that we were handing out to community members. Different coalition members within agencies would have these cards and be able to hand them to clients. I had them at the food pantry. People had them at the courthouse, and we are trying to capture people's lived experiences who are navigating the system. So we had a goal of 23 voices in 2023, gathering data starting back from January 2022, and we actually just completed the surveys 2 weeks ago. We're partnering with Recover Alaska out of Anchorage, who gave us $50 gift cards for people who completed the survey with me. And they've also connected us with a consultant out of Anchorage who is gathering all this data to best communicate the story behind the numbers and all the information that we've gotten in these surveys. So at the next quarterly meeting, we're hoping to share that data. Can you go to the next slide, please?
Hang on just a sec.
Okay, no problem.
Something screwy just happened, so let me go that way.
Thank you. So this is an example of some of the questions that we ask. What's your motivation for accessing services? What services were you trying to access? And graphs are lovely, but hearing people's stories was really a powerful experience for me. I completed some of the surveys even at the Homer Food Pantry, and the board members there were like, wow, a lot of people are crying at your table, crying. Like, sorry, it's because they would start telling me these stories of like things they're running into and what they want to see different and just really hearing a lot of vulnerability. And so I'm looking forward to seeing the numbers and seeing just the themes of what's going wrong, what's going right, and how the coalition can hopefully make a difference for people in our community. So and I did want to share one little story about this work group. So that little business card was given to somebody from the courthouse, and he called me and said, "Hey, I got this little card, and I just wanted to connect with you." And I said, "Great, I'm at the food pantry. Can you come here now?" He came. He was supposed to get a drug assessment within 10 days to comply with court. He was running into issues, couldn't get an appointment anywhere. I called the Nanochik Traditional Council. They got him an appointment within a week. And from that experience that evening, he went to the recovery speaker series and got to hear a message of recovery. He asked me if he could go to 12-step meetings. He's been in the 12-step community now. And then this last weekend, he got to go to a big Narcotics Anonymous conference with hundreds of people down at Land's End. And so that's kind of like, it's just so beautiful to me. Like, he went to court fearful, can't meet, is needing something really important. And now and within weeks, he's connected with people in recovery, being supported, and hearing the message of hope and recovery. So that's really powerful for me to see somebody walk from point A to point B. And yeah, just wanted to share that part with you. Next slide. Is there another slide?
Let me look. I'll just leave these. Let's see. Yep, one last one.
Okay, yeah, and I just wanted to touch base that we have a quarterly meeting, still our next one's in November, and it's just great when we all get together and give work group updates, give agency updates, and just sort of all be on the same page and hear what each other's doing and how we can help one another. So again, thank you for funding this position, and it really makes a difference, and I'm blessed to be part of it. That's it.
That's great.
Any questions for either of us?
Yeah, any questions? Roberta?
Just thought I'd make a comment for the two new members of the SAB, is that since 2008, SAB has been the sponsoring financial support for MAP, and then All Things Recovery was added to that, and South Peninsula Hospital will now be taking that over, part of our reports and grants. And thank you for the budget and the annual report.
So I'm happy to still come back once a year and present if that would be of value to you all, even if you're no longer funding. I enjoy being able to come and just spin you up on what's happening in the community.
I was actually thinking about that as both of you were talking, that I think that would be good to still continue to have that connection and hear what's going on. You guys are doing really great stuff. And Jacqueline, I'm really glad you could come and talk and share some of those stories, and it's powerful. So I have a question. How many people on average would you have come and talk to you at the food pantry?
Talk to me personally, I mean, probably between 5 and 10, but I mean, it varies. The room is packed in the morning, but yeah, I'm there in the room. And so, and that's the consistency of coming back over and over again as I'm starting to build relationships and people are more comfortable talking to me. And so, yeah, but I see a lot in those 3 hours every week.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, I don't mean it's great that we have people who have problems, but it's great that they have you to talk to. It's really good. Yeah. Any other questions or comments from anybody? How about in Zoom land? All right. Thank you both.
Well, thank you. We're gonna sneak out because we've got little ones at home and it's school night. Actually, no, there's no school tomorrow, but we have a community meeting really early tomorrow. So I'm gonna grab these couple things that were left for us for tomorrow morning, and thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. Thanks, Jacqueline. Appreciate you, ladies.
All right.
See you later. Thank you.
Devaney, did you give the report from the committee of the whole?
Sure. The committee of the whole began with new SAB member Tamara Fletcher introducing herself. She's been in Homer since '85 and has worked in a number of roles, including in the harbor master's office, and now provides bookkeeping services from her home. The committee then discussed the South Peninsula Hospital legislative priority items that were emailed out as a laydown. The hospital identifies and submits its priorities every year. The first priority discussed by the committee focuses on maintaining and improving hospital infrastructure, and up to 30 million may be needed for all needed improvements. More will be known as these improvements are planned. And the second priority addresses the hospital's need to acquire additional real estate to efficiently provide its healthcare services. In response to a few corrections, Angela has emailed updated versions of those two South Peninsula Hospital submissions, which will be included in the SAB minutes. Roberta had spoken today to Michelle Turner at the Borough, who clarified that SAB could document support of the South Peninsula Hospital legislative priorities with a motion. 2 motions were suggested by Roberta, and I can read those now or just at the regular meeting. I guess it makes sense to, oh, it is the regular meeting. I mean, when they come up under new business. Tonight will be both Tim Whipp's and Judy Lund's last SAB meetings. Tim has served on the board for 3, fun and I'm sure fulfilling years. Judy's been on the board for 15 years and came onto the board the same year as Roberta and Ralph did. Her contributions are so much appreciated. Our darling Judy. Helen mentioned that both Willie and Ralph are traveling. Their absences are excused. The committee discussed Zoom and in-person meeting attendance. Helen noted how much she appreciates the flavor of meetings where attendees meet in person and thinks in-person attendance is important in getting to know one another and building relationships. She encouraged members who could to attend meetings in person whenever possible. Kelly Cooper also emphasized the same approach and appreciates in-person dynamics. While everybody understands the need for Zoom attendance, Catherine Alt noted how much things have changed with the pandemic, and Devaney mentioned how helpful Zoom participation has been for individuals with disabilities. Finally, Helen mentioned that the AHA Rural Healthcare Conference will take place in Orlando, Florida in February, and at the next SAB meeting, we'll have a better idea of funding available for SAB members to attend. And before the next SAB meeting, at 4:30, there'll be a behind-the-scenes tour at the hospital of things that need fixing. That's the end.
Roberta.
I just have a slight correction to that. We on those, it's 2023 state capital improvement projects versus legislative, however you said it,
Okay,
Devaney.
State capital improvement
2023
projects.
2023 state capital improvement projects.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank
Great.
you, Roberta. Anything else? All right. Thank you very much, Tiffany, as always. Ryan, do you have a report for us?
Sure. We did do our certificate of need public hearing. Thanks to Angela, she presented on that. Thanks to Helen for testifying to that. We had some good testimony from Helen and Angie Newby and a couple other community members. And I think that went well. There was no opposition to the certificate of need public hearing, so that was good. And that project will keep moving forward. The Mako surgical robot went before the assembly on Tuesday, so thanks for your support of that. It was on the consent agenda, so it'll be get its final hearing 2 weeks from now. And then the Epic sole source that you all approved, again, thank you. That should be on the assembly at the next assembly meeting for its first hearing. So thank you guys for supporting all of those. We have lots of recruiting activities going on at the hospital for physicians. So we're currently looking for an OBGYN. So we did get notice that Dr. Katie Ostrom was not going to be renewing her privileges in October 27th. So we have been actively recruiting for another OBGYN for the community, and then also nurse midwife. We've been recruiting for a nurse midwife. Dana Whitaker has expressed her desire not to take call after December, and so we were recruiting for another midwife, and then also an outpatient pediatrician. So we had an outpatient pediatrician in the community, so we've started recruiting for that. I've mentioned Dr. Weiscarver before. He's an aesthetics and reconstruction surgeon that will be joining us next year. He's actually in town right now and visiting us, and he has signed a letter of intent. And then we just have some various locums that will be coming. So lots of activity in the physician realm. We hired a new foundation director, Melissa Blair, and so she's officially started, and she's going to do a great job. Very personable person. And we have started our union negotiations with the Teamsters. So we had a 4-year collective bargaining agreement. Anna is on the negotiating team, and they were able to do the non-economics in 2 days.
2 days.
And then they started, I got the economic proposal today from the union, so that one might take a little longer, huh?
Yeah.
But they're doing yeoman's work out there, so might be a little noise around that one, but hopefully we'll get through that unscathed. I think that's all that I have, unless you have any questions.
Questions for Brian, anybody?
Oh, congratulations to Kelly. So on our board, we'll be looking for 3 new board members. So Julie Woodworth and Carrie Ann Baker and Kelly will all be off the operating board. And so we'll be recruiting for those positions. And
They're all leaving?
yeah, Julie, Carrie Ann, and so Bernie is also up, and she's gonna stay, or has expressed a desire to stay. And then Julie moved to Anchorage, and so I think it's just, well, she's done this for 15 years. She's been a great member of our board. And Carrie Ann Baker took a job at HEA, so I know that she's plenty busy with her job and kids and everything else. And then Kelly, of course, can't be on board anymore, and she's on the assembly.
Yes.
So welcome to Tamara. Thank you. Welcome. Yep.
Just curious, what's in the plans for the plastic surgeon as far as just his service line?
Yeah.
What's he gonna offer?
Yeah, he does a broad scope. He's training at doing his residency at UT Southwestern, and so he does breast reconstruction work. So he does flaps, open flaps. He'll do those here. You know, the full range of plastic surgery he'll do here. So really kind of full scope. And there's really nothing on the peninsula in terms of, you know, plastic surgery. There's someone else in his class that has actually been recruited to go to Wasilla. So there'll be 2 new plastic surgeons next year, one going to Wasilla and one coming to Homer. So we tried to recruit one for years and years when I worked in Saldana. We were never successful, and ran into Ian Weiscarver, who wants to live in Homer, who wants to be here. So we feel very fortunate, and I feel like he can be a service that the whole peninsula will be able to benefit from. So, yeah, if you want to meet him, he's here tomorrow, and he'll tell you all the things that he does, which I can't describe as well as he can. So
I believe it.
Burns, reattacking limbs.
yeah,
He does all the stuff.
Which is awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just curious, like, yeah, as far as, and I'm assuming it's not gonna be reattaching limbs at like SPH because we don't have like the nursing capacity for that, but
yeah,
that is amazing.
yeah.
I'm excited to know that exists now. Back in the day, they couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I just want, this is kind of crazy, but all the talk about the robotics for the knee replacements. And so I went home and was telling my husband all about it, and he just had a knee replacement. So he's been obsessed with watching videos of knee replacement surgeries.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to know more about it, it's rather interesting. So,
High-end carpentry, right?
and Stryker Corporation comes out of Kalamazoo, Michigan, and the 3 billionaires that live there are all from Stryker.
Striker, yeah,
Of course. Anyway, I digress. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, back to the agenda, and the next on the agenda is Anna, our CFO.
I have exciting news to report for the month of August. Not as exciting about reattaching limb robots, but I'll try and add some color to the financials. Even though they're black, which is good, we like to see black. August was a phenomenal month. Our volumes remained high. July, our volumes were significantly way above budget, and in August, they were also above budget. We were strong everywhere. Looking at the income statement, you'll see that both for inpatient and outpatient, we exceeded budget with our revenue targets. Inpatient was strong, surgery inpatient was about $100,000 over where we planned it to be. Out days were strong as well. Outpatient, looking at revenues, areas most above budget were surgery, the ER, both of those being $50,000 above budget in each of those areas. ER was still very busy from the summer through the month of August, but across the board, volumes were up in all areas. And I do have some additional attachments that show you like percentage of budgets, a few pages down, just a very strong month for us. CT, ED, surgery, everywhere. Then if we look at deductions from revenue, the only thing that is of note here, we did see a little bit of shift in our payer mix during the month of August, a decline in Medicaid. That's something we're closely watching, especially as the state is doing the revalidations. I'm hearing a little noise from upstairs from our staff that they're finding some patients are disenrolled who are truly still eligible, and they're working closely with those patients and the DPA to get those patients back on Medicaid. So that's something we're going to closely monitor and see if that's a trend or just a one-off because of our continued summer volumes into the month of August. Looking at that, so we see a little bit increase in Medicare deduction because of that shift in the payer mix, but also on that Medicaid line, you'll see that the deduction from revenue is a bit higher. We received notice from the state of Alaska that for our DISH funds from FY20, so from several years ago, they were just now doing the audit. It looks like we may end up having to pay $500,000 back for that. DISH funds are disproportionate share hospital funds. Back in the day when you had to do your taxes and you had to have health insurance, or you checked the box that you didn't and you paid a fine, that went into a pool of money that was delivered to the states to go to hospitals to help cover uncompensated care from uninsured individuals. The state of Alaska allocates that money out to facilities to help with behavioral health needs of uninsured patients. When it's audited against different standards. They're looking at the cost to provide that care and holding against you anything a commercial payer might have paid for someone who was also eligible for Medicaid above the cost to provide the care. And so that's counting against us. The other thing that's counting against us strongly is our self-pay payments go to payment plans back into the early 2000s. We have financed care for so many of our patients to help make it affordable over time that our self-pay payments make it look like we're collecting a good portion of our uninsured care because they're booked based on a cash basis, regardless of when that service was provided. So those are a couple things that count against us. We'll appeal it with the state, but we did book a deduction and a due to Medicaid should we need to pay that money back. Moving down to the operating expenses, nothing too exciting there. For the most part, it's explained by our increased volumes. Increased volumes result in increased pharmaceutical supplies, increased staffing, a bit of overtime on some of our units. And so operating expenses a bit above budget, but nothing too notable in that area. The other thing this group likes to look at is our property taxes. So for the month of August, we did collect a bit more than we had planned. We never can predict exactly when people are going to pay their taxes. We try to, but we can't always predict that. But we're ahead of schedule there for the year. And then bringing us to the bottom line, our net income being a positive 1.776 million for the month of August. We move on to the balance sheet for the month of August. Nothing too exciting here. Our biggest cash on hand at the top there being 89 days of operating cash. If we look at our unobligated pref, in total, we have about 110 days of cash on hand. Our target for operating cash, for those of you who are new, I kind of walk through the steps here, is 90 days cash on hand. So we're very close to our target for that. We look at our patient accounts receivable. We met the target for the month of August. Net patient accounts receivable being 17.79 million, translating to 54.1 days. So we're meeting our target of less than 55 days there. we move down to lines 15 and 16 and take a look at the pref. It's been unchanged since the end of the last fiscal year, so nothing of note in that area. Projects are starting to pick up and move quickly this year, so we should see some of that shift as some of those obligated pref funds are used for capital projects. That brings us pretty much of anything of note with the balance sheet. Any questions from anyone?
I have a question. Is PREF an abbreviation?
It is. I'm
Acronym?
so sorry. Thank you, Tamara. PREF is Plant Replacement and Expansion Fund.
Okay.
I apologize.
It's okay. I know now.
And those are funds that we send to the borough. Anytime our days cash on hand exceeds 90 at the end of a quarter, we transfer those funds to the borough and they hold them in our PREF unobligated. So when we want to do a capital project, we can then draw from those funds to complete that capital project. Or if we were to need operating cash, we could pull some of those funds back into the organization.
Thank you.
Good question. Any other questions from anyone? I can't see people on Zoom, so speak up if you have a question. All right. Thank you so much, and you do a great job with that. We don't have anybody here from the board of directors to talk about their last meeting, which was September 27th, but Judy, you were there, your last one. Do you have anything to share?
A great meeting. And of course, I said goodbye to everybody. They were really sweet, telling me all the lovely things about myself. I must say that one of the nice things about leaving is finding out how nice people can be and all the lovely things they said. It was a real, makes me almost cry every time I think about it. As far as the meeting itself, there wasn't an awful lot that would be of interest here. They passed the resolutions that we had already discussed and supported. The last one, which we supported before they had actually finalized it, we were ahead of them, turned out to be 2023-26, the South Peninsula Hospital Board resolution, a resolution of the South Peninsula Hospital Board of Directors to support sole sourcing the acquisition of Epic, a new electronic medical record software. So their number is now 2023-26. We had already approved a service area board resolution for the same purpose. We heard that the South Peninsula Foundation has a new director, who sounds like she's going to be just wonderful. Her name is Melissa. Oops. Somebody help me out here. Melissa
Claire.
Yes. And she seems, I've done a little contact with her. It seems like she's a wonderful person. I think it's going to be a great addition. And finally, I approved, oh wait, that's in the treasurer's report. But I'll give my treasurer's report right now too, so we can just keep going on. I approved a charge from Larry Dunn for the AHA meeting, the AHA meeting that he attended in September. So that's been approved. That's about the only thing that happened with the finances for the service area board this month. And that's the end of my report. And thank you all for everything. It's been wonderful.
Thank you, Judy. And Mike Tupper texted me that he's not able to attend tonight and he didn't have anything that he needed to share. And that brings us to your last treasurer's report, Judy.
And the last treasurer's report was that I approved Willie Dunn's trip to the AHA conference in Girdwood last month in September.
Okay. All right, thank you. My report, I don't have a whole lot to add, but as Ryan said, I did attend the certificate of need for the public hearing, which actually was interesting. I've never attended anything like that before, and I learned new things about what's happening, and so that was good. Other duties of the chair as assigned. So that's probably all I really needed to add on that. So unfinished business, we don't have any new business. We talked at the committee of the whole about just an encouragement of our board members to attend in person, just in an effort to build relationships and build the community when people can, and understanding, of course, that not everybody can attend all the time, and it is good to have the ability to have Zoom so that people can attend when they're not physically able to come in person. Devaney, could you just speak to our summary of the clarifying the handling of large PowerPoint files and lengthy reports in the minutes?
Sure. Yeah, it was covered in the committee of the whole report, but we will, maybe it wasn't because I was talking. When there is a large report that is presented during the meeting, and including the report in its entirety makes for a very large file of for the minutes. I will separately provide that entire report as a file emailed either in the same email or a separate email along with the minutes, but I won't worry about including all of those pages in the minutes. And the goal of the minutes is to capture the highlights of the presentation that was actually made to the board.
Thank you, Devaney. And then new business, actually it says D, but it should be C. It was an amended agenda. The South Kenai Peninsula Hospital Service Area priorities for capital improvement projects for the state for the year 2023. And this was a laydown of 2 projects that we got yesterday. Really, they didn't get sent to us earlier because of the timing of how that went with the borough. And Roberta, could you make a motion? Make 2 motions, actually. Could you put a motion on the floor for consideration, please?
And we'll take each one of them separately. So I make a motion to support South Peninsula Hospitals Inc.'s request that Kenai Peninsula Borough submit to 2023 State Capital Improvement Project Priority Number 1 in the amount of $9 million for the replacement of major building infrastructure per form included in the SKPH SAB minutes.
Judy Lunn, I second.
Thank you, Judy. Any discussion?
Just for clarity, could I include SPH priority number 1 as opposed so it would say submit to 2023 state capital improvement projects SPH priority number 1?
That sounds good to me, and that's we don't have to do an amendment. I don't think for that. It's just changing the wording a little bit, and this is a work in progress.
And it's just for clarity. That's fine with me. All right, hearing no more discussion, can we have a roll call vote, please, Stephanie?
Sure, I'm not muted. Okay. Catherine Alt,
Yes.
Helen Armstrong,
Yes.
Willie Dunn is absent. Roberta Highland,
Yes.
Judy Lund,
Yes.
Tim Whip,
Yes.
Jim Dougherty,
Yes.
Amber Cabana,
Yes.
and Ralph Brochus is absent. Motion passes.
Thank you, Devaney. Second project,
So this one I'm a little bit, sorry, I'm a little bit more fuzzy on, so I may need some assistance on it. So I make a motion to support South Peninsula Hospital Inc.'s request that Kenai Peninsula Borough submit to the 2023 State Capital Improvement Project SPH priority number 2 in the amount of $12 million to assist. And here's where I'm going to go a little bit with the acquisition of, and let's see, with the acquisition and the acquisition, here we go, of expansion of.
Bertie, do you want me to read what
Yes.
the language? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. You're moving to support what you said, which is with the acquisition and expansion of real property on which SPH can build more facilities to meet patient health needs per form included in the SKPH SAB minutes.
That sound correct to everyone who's in the know about this?
is that correct, Angela?
That is the purpose of it, yeah. But the project title is a little different, but however you guys want to word that in minutes.
Let's word the project title what it should be, so.
Okay.
I think-
South Peninsula Hospital Land Acquisition and Facilities Expansion Project.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you hear that, Devaney, for the minutes?
Yep, I did.
And Roberta, do you agree that your motion should be the way Angela just read it?
Well, we'll have to work on it a little bit because the project name, that will be the change on the form that will be included with these minutes. And so that's the form. The actual motion, is that how we want it? We do want it. If you could say, Angela, exactly regarding project name.
Was that the recommendation, Roberta, when you called, you must have called Tamara Ward or
Michelle Turner.
Oh, Michelle Turner, okay. Was that the recommendation that you place in the minutes, the purpose of the project or the title, or did she specify?
Well, the first one, I admit that we got that very much clarified. And then I felt like, okay, I can just go ahead with the second one, but then I'm having a little trouble. So it's completely up to us that we make it as clear as possible in this motion, though they will have the form and your project name, this whole form, both of these will be included, which will be whatever we want to call this first page, and then the actual form where you filled out yes and no and that sort of thing. So they will be getting in our minutes, and they only need the part that we're doing right now of our minutes, but that will be included in it. So they will be able to read what the project name is. But I'm just trying to decide is, will that change a lot? Or is it the clarification? I mean, Devaney, what you said, maybe you could reread it and we can just go ahead and put the project name in there.
The project name as I have it is SPH Land Acquisition and Facilities Expansion Project. And in the motion, the motion is to support SPH Inc.'s request that the Kenai Peninsula Borough submit to 2023 state capital improvement projects, SPH priority number 2, in the amount of $12 million to assist with the acquisition and expansion of real property on which SPH can build more facilities to meet patient health needs per form included in the SKPH SAB minutes.
That include, does that include, I'm not doing that well on comprendoing things about SPH, about hospital land acquisition and facilities expansion. Did you say that in the motion?
Acquisition and expansion of real property on which SPH can build more facilities to meet patient health needs per form included in the minutes.
So it's just a little, well, or is it the facilities expansion? You've got that in there.
I can put acquisition and see, it sounds funny to say facilities expansion of real property. And it seems, Angela, is the emphasis on real property significant to include, or should it say acquisition and expansion of facilities?
Yeah, that's where it does get confusing. And I was hoping to keep it simple. And the reason is we could buy raw land or we could buy land that has buildings on it. And we could expand or build facilities on both. So trying to put that in one sentence is probably going to be a little challenging. However you want to communicate that. I see the line, the sentence from the project that you've, kind of taken part of, but I guess what I would just recommend is keep it as concise as you could. But yeah, we do need real property so that we can build some of that land.
Angela, does staying acquisition and expansion of real property on which SPH can build more facilities?
I think I'd just pull off the expansion of real property because, I mean, technically the real property is the land and then the building is what we could expand or build. So I think I'd probably just tweak that and remove the expansion from the real property.
Okay, acquisition of real property on which SPH can build more facilities to meet patient health needs. Blah, blah, blah.
That's perfect. I love it. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm kind of thinking that it wouldn't hurt for us to include that second sentence. SPH is also seeking to purchase land/buildings that we are currently leased, that SPH is currently leasing to enable additional growth and renovation on those parcels. It kind of seems important that we're currently leasing and wanting to purchase. What do you think?
Yeah, it could be either, Roberta. So I support, I definitely support that language.
I'm saying that we can add another sentence. And so my thought would be not either or, that it would be both is what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
So Bertie, we can add to the motion the sentence SPH SAB also supports SPH seeking to purchase land and buildings that it is currently leasing to enable additional growth and renovation of those parcels.
Sounds good to me. What does everybody else think?
That's fine. Yeah, so put it now in your final form of a motion for everybody to vote on.
Devaney, did you read that?
Yeah. Ms. Highland moved to support.
I make a motion.
Okay, Ms. Highland made a motion to support SBH Inc.'s request that the Kenai Peninsula Borough submit to 2023 State Capital Improvement Projects, SPH Priority Number 2, in the amount of $12 million to assist with the acquisition of real property on which SPH can build more facilities to meet patient health needs per form included in the SKPH SAB minutes. SAB also supports SPH purchasing land and buildings that it currently leases to enable additional growth and renovation of those parcels.
I was kind of following there, but did you put to purchase land and buildings?
Yes.
Okay.
Did
All right.
Judy, second,
Motion that Devaney read on behalf of Roberta, who's making the motion. Judy has seconded it, so discussion? Further discussion? All right, Devaney, could we have roll call, please?
Sure. Catherine Alt,
Yes.
Ellen Armstrong,
Yes.
Willie Dan absent, Roberta Highland,
Yes.
Judy Lund,
yes,
Tim Whip,
Yes.
Tim Doherty,
Yes.
Amber Cabana,
Yes.
Ralph Brochus absent, motion passes.
All right, thank you for that. That concludes the new business. Important informational items that are included in the packet are the minutes from the Board of Directors meeting of August 23rd. Do we have any comments from our guests? Those be members, all right. Comments from board and staff? Any comments?
I'd like to say happy birthday again to Helen. I miss you all.
And I'd like to say again how much I'm going to miss Judy.
Roberta, you had your hand up?
Yes, I'm gonna say happy birthday, Helen. Thank you for coming to the meeting on your birthday. And then again, saying to Judy how much I'll miss her terribly on the board, and then thanking Tim Whip for his 3 years. We absolutely have to have the volunteers come forward on this rather important board. And I'm also thinking about our next upcoming meeting that will have the training, which will be reviewing the member manual. And Francie, you got yours?
Yes.
Excellent. Yeah. Okay. And so we'll be reviewing those. And then in November, we also do the elections of officers. And with Judy not being here with, and we also are going to need a liaison for the foundation, because Judy has also done that. So that's just throwing some thoughts out there of how of a few things we have to think about. So that's it. Thank you. Thank you.
Just a quick comment on the liaison. That's a fun position, and they don't meet very often. They usually meet around noon on Mondays, and they're going into some really interesting stuff. So if you want to add a little excitement to your board experiences, I recommend signing up to be the liaison. You'll love it.
Good sales pitch.
Great, Judy.
Bravo.
Judy, since you won't be at our next meeting, can you give your pitch to Tamara and Francie for being a treasurer?
You want something that's nice and easy, be a treasurer. About all you do is occasionally approve a trip to somewhere. the treasurer doesn't do an awful lot. We've got the staff at the hospital doing all the number work. So basically, if you can even follow a profit and loss and a balance sheet, might as well be the treasurer. It's a great job.
Thank you.
It was harder when we were managing the map and all things recovery or whatever. Is that their new name? Yeah. Yeah, Judy, I just once again officially on the record want to thank you for your 15 years of service. It's been nice to get to know you, and Tim, thank you for your 3 years. We appreciate your being involved. It's always good to have people, no matter how long they're on the board, to have them be involved in our community and in our hospital. So with that, any other comments? Anybody else want to make? Did I get them all? Okay. The representative for the October 25th Board of Directors meeting is Catherine. And nothing else on the agenda. The meeting is adjourned at 7:37. See you next month.
Thanks, Helen.